Good morning, YouTube. The last video I recorded, I did a size comparison with. I used this copy of this ZTO 920 to compare the size of a Todd Begg lamp 7.0. It was a Steelcraft, and I finally got my hands on a real one. One come up at a decent price, and I was able to scoop it up. It wasn't a Tiger Stripe, which I actually prefer the basic model over the Tiger Stripe. My favorite 920 was the BLK, which I guess is blue black, Smoky Mountain Knife Works Sprint Run, but I haven't seen one of those for sale in a very long time. So I thought this might be a good opportunity to actually go in depth over the differences between the real and the fake ZT 920, ZTO 920 by Les George. So I guess we can dive into it. I carried this knife. I carried the Tiger Stripe model in my pocket for a while. It's definitely, it was advertised by the seller to, I want to say he said it had 14 C28 steel, even though it's marked CPM 20 CV. And full disclosure, I didn't know it was going to have any markings on it whenever I got it. When I bought it off the website, you probably know which website it was. All the branding was blacked out, and as you know from my first video, if you watched it, I bought a Benchmade 940 copy that didn't have any branding on it at all, and I'm pleased with that, because like my biggest complaint with the copies and the counterfeits is this: if they get into the wrong hands, then somebody could potentially screw a buyer over. If I'm not honest about what I have, or you're not honest about what you have, then it's easy to take advantage of somebody. So that's why I want to do this video, is because that's the biggest problem that I have with it. The second biggest problem I have with it is I actually agree with Mick Strider. I'm not a big fan of it taking money out of the hands of the designer, and the intellectual property being stolen. With that being said, I bought this because ZT no longer produces the knife. Les George didn't have a Harpy for sale on his site at the time, and I wanted to get my hands on one. I've had my hands on one in the past, and I wanted to get my hands on one. It's the closest thing I could find. I was willing to spend the money. I was willing to spend this money, on something Harpy or 0920 related. It wasn't an unwillingness to spend the money. It was an inability to be able to find it, or maybe you can just chalk that up to my impatience. But anyway, if you guys want to, we can I can do a video explaining my ethics when it comes to or where my morals, my standpoints are on counterfeits and copies in a later video. But today I want to show you the differences between the fakes and the real. First off, if this was a real Tiger Stripe, it would have 6 black stripes, and they would be thinner, they would be cleaner. If this was a real 0920 TTS, everything would be much smoother. It wouldn't be as blurry. I don't know how the camera's picking all that stuff up, but you see some overspray, and you wouldn't have that on the real TTS. And if you see the lack of definition here. To be fair, I didn't care if it had stripes on it or not. This is a work knife. I beat the crap out of it. The edge lasted I don't know, maybe a month, and it needs to be sharpened now. And I'm gonna work on that. I haven't been very enthusiastic about sharpening it, because it's got a recurve, and it's not much of a recurve, but it is there. And I don't want to mess it up. And that's another reason why I'm glad I have this knife, because if I screw this blade up, there's no way I'm sharpening this one. I won't sharpen this one until I know how to sharpen this one. And I know they're two different steels, but at least the technique. You know, I'll be able to perfect my technique on the fake one. And if I mess something up, no big deal. It goes in the trash can. No, not a problem at all. But if I screw, if I use the wrong technique and I screw something up on this knife, I'm out several $100s. So the the for one, all right. So like you got the stripes. There is absolutely no jimping on the top of the the flipper, whereas on the real knife you have jimping on the top of the flipper, which makes sense. You have the jimping on the top of the flipper, so it helps flip it open. You have jimping on the back of the flipper, which I believe will be more of a like maybe I don't know what the purpose is, but the real model has it and the fake doesn't. The grooves and the textured titanium. Now, I've tested this. This is titanium, believe it or not. Or it's aluminum. I haven't tested it with a scanner. You know, I'm in talks with a guy about a scanner. The scanner is like $15,000 for the stage 1 scanner and $18,000 for the stage 2. I've got a salesman here in Tennessee that can supply me with these scanners, but he said that if I went ahead and got my state certification, that I could rent them out and use them by the day, and it's much cheaper, obviously. So I may do that because I have a lot of stuff I like to check it out and learn how these things work. I'm a metal nerd, but the grooves are much deeper in the fake versus the real. They're very fine on the real, it's, you can barely feel the grooves and the contouring on the real, and the grooves they make their way to the spine. You know, like, so there's grooves on the spine. You can feel it. Probably barely hear that, but like it's perfectly smooth on the fake. There's also there's grooves on the underside of the scales where your hands would be. So it gives the illusion that these, I mean, it's not really, I guess, like the grooves are going all the way around the knife in symmetry on the reel. That's detail. Mr. George, was that's meticulous. You know, like, and in my opinion, I like that. You know, like, that's something I can admire, and I do very much admire Mr. George, and builds knives in Mississippi. LesGeorgeKnives.com. Okay, so the pivot. The pivot on the real knife is shiny and domed, and is larger in diameter than the pivot on the fake knife. This pivot may be the same material, as this pivot, but it's not shiny. It's flat. That doesn't bother me as a user. It's not a big deal at all. Both of these knives are on both of them are on ball bearings. If y'all want to see a video about taking these apart and checking out the insides, I'd be more than happy, to do that. I'm going to take both of them apart anyway. Another difference is this knife is all T8s, Torx screws, T8s, all the way around, except for the pocket clip, which is T6s, which is understandable. But I believe everything else is supposed to be T8, like T8 all the way around. I believe that was a change ZT was going to throughout the years. If I'm wrong about that, I'll correct it in the comments. I'm not much on editing videos, as you probably know, but this one is all T6s. It's T6s everywhere except for the pivot, and I think the pivot's a 10. And yeah, I'm pretty sure this pivot's going to be a T8 as well. But I'll get into that. And while we're at the pivot screw, you'll also notice the spacing in between the lock bar is more prominent, and and defined. It like it goes in, makes a U shape, like a cul-de-sac, and this one's just flat. And you can like listen, like there's evidence, like that the texturing is way more pronounced on the fake than it is the real, which that could be a positive or a negative to you. I'm not sure. It doesn't bother me either way, as far as users go. One thing I think that the fake got right, probably by accident, is the pocket clip. You see the ramp? It's got enough ramp, but it doesn't have too much ramp. Where like Shabaz's complaint and a few other people's complaint on the 920 was that the ramping on the pocket clip wasn't all that great. Which this is never really a big deal to me. I always put the pocket clip on there that I want. Like I'll likely invest some money in a deep carry pocket clip and keep this pocket clip in the box that it come in. And speaking of which, the boxes that they come in is incredibly laughable. But like I mean, the real ZT, obviously it came in a real ZT box, and it's marked. Overbuilt, a real beast, all that stuff, right? And there's nothing wrong with that box. What's laughable is like the fake came in this box. That's very very familiar. Like there's man, I don't know. I'm so torn when it comes to this like I'm not a designer, but I used to write songs, and for somebody to put my name, like they put Les George's name on that blade, like it's 0920TTS USA George Design, serial number 0393. That's another thing. Somebody out there actually has a real 0393 serial number knife, and if they're pumping out thousands of these knives with the same serial number on them, more than likely they are, then that's whoever owns that knife, the real knife, if they can't, I would hate for the burden of proof to be on them to be able to prove that their knife is real versus the fakes. But that's why we do these videos. So I happen to have a fake one, I happen to have a real one, and I haven't seen a single video on YouTube about a fake 0920. You can find them on paramilitaries and 940s, the 0562, the 0450s. There's lots of fake videos out there. Or videos about fake copy knives, but there's not any on the 0920 that I could find. So that's why I'm doing this, because I don't like to. I'm not real big on giving knife reviews. I feel like there's a lot of people out there that do it better, and I don't want to be just another knife reviewer. I'll tell you what I think about the knives, but there's no sense in having that much forced down your throat. I'm always willing to answer any kind of questions you guys may have about any of the knives that we talk about, because I love knives, but I'm not I don't really feel like I got a place in breaking them down and telling you every spec of the knife when there's so many good people out there. Like I follow a lot of channels, and it's too many to mention, but there's another key difference. Is all of this, every bit of this information would be under the jimping on a real knife, where it stretches out past the jimping on the fake knife. And on the real knife, every bit of that information, I'll make sure I'm squared up, I'm sorry, is under the jimping. They've crammed all the information under the jimping. And the jimping is another thing. You can notice here on the real 0920 that the jimping is kind of wavy. It kind of, it's rounded off, and it kind of goes with the flow of the knife and the curvature that everything's got going on. The fake knife, the jimping on top, which works just fine, but the jimping on top is ridgy and squared. So like it's kind of like I call it castled. It's just blocky. So that's another difference that that you may be able to use this information and see. And okay, so the weight of the knives, I believe. All right, so I don't have my scale in front of me, and I don't want to hold it. I don't want to make this any longer than I have to. But I know that this knife is like 0.5. I'm sorry, it's like 5.2 or 5.4 ounces, something like that. This knife is pushing closer to 6. It probably doesn't have all the milling out inside the body. I know it's filthy in there. There is some milling, but it's not as pronounced, I don't believe. And it may not be titanium. It's not magnetic. But that could mean that it's aluminum or something like that. But anyway, I want to cut the video short. If you guys have any questions, if you have any input, go ahead and ask away. Let me know. If you want to see more videos like this, I'm the type of guy, I'll buy a fake if I can't buy a real, to get it in my hands and see if it's somewhat comfortable, because I feel like it's going to be close enough. But I'm not the type of guy that is not willing to support the real manufacturer. So we can get deeper into that conversation. And, I don't mind, but let me know what let me know what your thoughts are on everything. If you want to see more comparison videos when it comes to the fake knives versus the real knives, then I can do those. I've still got some copies around here of some knives that I no longer carry. I've got some rebladed 940s that I could show you. And also I bought it's off topic, but if you made it this far, then I'll probably make another video explaining this. But if I bought a lot of knives off of eBay, and there was some in there that I wanted, and there's some knives in there that I didn't want. And I asked my son if he wanted some of the ones that I didn't want, and he wasn't especially excited about some of the knives. But I got 4 knives I want to give away, and I figure I can give them away to you guys if you want them. They're I'll tell you the brands: it's Kershaw, Artisan Cutlery, Kaiser, and CJRB. I think I got that right. I don't have much experience with that brand, but all 4 of those knives are okay budget knives. It's not going to be like a really expensive Kershaw or a really expensive Kaiser or a really expensive Artisan Cutlery. I know those 3 brands have knives that cost hundreds, but these won't fit that bill. But what they will be is free, to you guys. So like if you want to, you want a chance to win some knives or whatever, we can play some games and figure something out. I've always got stuff that I'm either giving away anyway. I give away a lot of knives. Sometimes I lose them. But you guys are more welcome to them if you want to. If you made it this far, again, subscribe if you don't mind, and leave a comment. Let me know, if you would even be interested in having a free knife that's been used. All 4 of those knives have been used that I mentioned earlier. They're not, I can sharpen them up, I can clean them up the best I can, but they're not perfect. They're just free. They're used. Think of them as users. They're not. It's nothing that you'll ever stick in your drawer to keep for to pass down to the next generation of knife collector in your family. But yeah, until next time, you guys have a great one.